It's a Breaker 19, Breaker 15.
Breaker 67. Hey, hi James.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the audio sounds good in the live. I'll check on the crew. Kind of gave him a breakdown. We're gonna go into the intro and hands raised, and that's
we're live right now. Yeah. Hi.
Oh gosh. Oh, hi everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Renee. Hello, room. Good to see everybody, or hear everybody, I should say.
Yeah.
Happy Monday Night Ride. There is a free form, all kinds of intricating we could do. So, me and my trusty co-pilots will be watching for hands. Feel free to interject or throw anything out. And just in case there wasn't enough, I thought that I would at least maybe say a few things over kind of in line with what I talked about today. Not that anyone needs to even see what I talked about today. And the gist is that maybe when the Mesoamericans looked at Venus, the way the starlight felt was kind of violent. It felt, it was very menacing. And I would imagine that maybe Venus had a sound. In other words, the way that a bear, this is very difficult to imagine, I'm sure, but the way that a bear probably processes you banging pots together really loud, I bet you that there's something visual that they're feeling. In other words, there's a loud blast of malamu. There's a loud blast of like soundness. And when it's that loud, you would see it too. I think that we see this too. It's just that our hallucination is so stabilized over time that we just forget about those frames. In other words, during fear, maybe you have as many as 200 frames per second, but then, or actually it's more about during epiphysis or dilation. During fear, you would have a constricted look at those 200 frames. And then during relaxed state, you may be pulling like 50 frames a second, 60 frames a second. And when you're only processing that many, you're saving so many calories. And you have all this extra energy. And so all the frames in between is really all hallucination. If you think about it, most of what you're doing is persisting the last hallucination from what the retina's burned. And now you're holding on to. You're sort of squeezing what was thrown on your Plato's cave. And you're squeezing that until you process again, because you don't know how fast your system is going. Is it going 200 frames a second? Is it going 30 frames a second? So technically, the idea for something to persist on your brain wall would be vitally important, because as soon as the next signal comes in, you'd be able to analyze vector movement, compression, speed, variable speed, intent, all this cool stuff, right? Would happen from this hallucination of what you saw. And that hallucination would be measured by how accurate it allowed you to succeed, not how accurate it was. How accurate it allowed you to succeed in the world. You would gain benefit, you would gain an advantage. This means that if you have a surreal look at things, you would be doing better. Your surreal look would look like this. If you bang two pots together and I'm a bear, I'm going to see a visual cue showing me where the pots are being banged. What is the vector of the source of these pots being banged? If I show this to the visual cortex of the bear, I'm able to bypass any sort of neocortexual thought, and I'm giving a lot of credit to the bear here, but I'm just saying you're allowed to bypass all of the sense of reasoning, because the retinal input is able to go directly through the amygdala, say, hey, do you want to think about this? And the amygdala can be like, fuck, no, just move. Just move. Bear says, where? Amygdala says there. How does it know where there is? Because the auditory hallucinations were painted on the retinal wall. I'm not saying that it doesn't listen to the cochlea. It does. I hope you hear what I mean. If the brain is going to survive, it may find it very beneficial. Let's just hallucinate every sense. Like if the shit really goes down, let's hallucinate it in every sector. And I think this truly is what led to the birth, not of the senses, but of the system of the senses working together. Keep in mind, the ear is listening at a different rate than the bottom of your feet. And if you are processing the signal at the bottom of your feet, it has to travel through, 3 trillion neurons, right? Like it's got a long way to go. Versus the sound that you hear right at your ear it's right there. So at some point, someone's got to do a lot of, hey, I know you saw that, but can you just hold that? And then your senses are like, what do you mean you hold it? What? This is reality. Like it's stepping on me right now. What do you mean hold it? I just need you to pretend. I need you to pretend that it happened 5 minutes from now. And I know this sounds crazy, but this is what your body has to do, technically. At some point, in order, maybe your body doesn't have to do it, but your consciousness does, wouldn't you say? You wouldn't be able to be all, oh, look at me, I'm Zeus, I'm in charge of everything. You wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't able to imagine that everything was happening simultaneously. And the only way you could imagine if things are happening simultaneously is prosopriety, manipulation. You're going to have to lie to yourself about how far away these sensory neurons are. And when you touch something with your fingers, how many milliseconds does that take? So what exactly happened? Because if you put German chocolate cake on a plate and I take my fork and I sink it into that corner, I can already taste it. I can taste it right now. The coldness of it, even if it's at room temperature, it has this, sour cream has this cold sort of cavernous sort of feeling to it. I feel that before I've placed the cake in my mouth. I can taste it.
Yeah.
I need a break. Sorry. Oh God, that's so good.
The sour cream.
This is really good.
Cake.
It's really good.
Cave. Yeah.
The order at which these things happened is truly unknown. I know for a fact that I feel the flavor. I feel it now talking about it. And I feel the flavor even. I will tell you that I think I feel it more lucidly if the cake's in front of me. Why? Because there's more torque in that reality, right? If you want to pretend that you're going to eat cake, the best way to pretend that you're eating cake is to have a piece of cake. Ultimately, that's what you're doing anyway. Ultimately, you are pretending to have a piece of cake because you have pretended. You already know, bitch, I want some cake. Why do you want some cake? Because the last time I tendered some cake, I was happy. So now you're pretending it, aren't you? You were pretending the cake, which means I would argue that there's only one time. Think about this. You've collapsed the wave. There's only one time you get to experience everything. Every other experience you have is permission to feel that event all over again. It's permission to, I want you to think about this word, it's permission to virginize this experience. It's permission to indulge because you've found it again. And that indulgement doesn't involve the new cake. It involves your nostalgia neurons. And guess what? Those are deeper. Those have been here longer. You've venerated those a few times, right? You're passing them in the hallway on your way to the next appointment, and you're like, hey, I venerate you. And they're like, oh, thanks. And you're like, I know, it's cool, because they've been around. You've been, right? So you venerate those things, and then when you start to mix those two together, it tastes even better. You actually discover that, wait, this is actually better than cake. So think about it. The first experience that you have cake is an event, no doubt. But technically, the best times that you've ever tasted the cake, I would have to argue would actually be the second time that you've had that cake. Because the anticipation dopamine, this is real life brain science, the anticipation of that would be unknown. And you might as well be, telling a child, hey, try one of these sour stoppers, and they're just like, oh, sure, why not? Anything can happen. Yeah, that could be a loud event, but I don't know if pleasure is so rooted in the pretentiousness, I mean this in a cute way, in the pretendingness, right, of the event. So much of the pleasure is heightened because of this. The expectation gives it torque, It gives it torque. Hey, Lori, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Lori.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, hey. I was eating this, I think it was a huckleberry pie while you were talking about that cake. And so I don't get dessert here. It's like very rare, but there was this piece of cake that had my name on it with a cup of vanilla ice cream. And I was eating it as you were describing this cake experience of the sour cream.
Right on.
And I just wanted to say that when I was a little kid, I would have a recurring dream. And the dream was I would be having this birthday cake. I always like a vanilla cake with a chocolate icing. And I would just get to where I was going to eat. And there was not a limitation on how much cake that I could have. And I was just about to eat the cake and I'd wake up. It was like a nightmare. So I was just thinking about what's going on in your brain? Because when I was a little kid, I had, the only place I could have real pleasure was eating. Everywhere else was dangerous or something. I don't know how to explain it in my brain. But I was thinking about the show you did today, and I was imagining the maths of the medicine person that could predict when Venus was going to be a morning star or an evening star, right?
Yeah. 90 days.
Right?
It's a long
right
time.
now, can you imagine? Because Venus and Jupiter are conjuncting right now. So it's an evening star, like super pointy, pokey, whatever. She is kicking ass with Jupiter as the expansion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's pouring down rain here. It's freezing cold too, but I won't be able to see it. That's tomorrow night too. But I was thinking, then what kind of bonus points do you get then to go to war with this evening or morning star, right? If you predicted that,
Yeah.
So it was like really good stuff. So anyhow, that's my little 2 cents on the cake.
Oh, this is great stuff. And I want to go back to your dream a sec because I'm just going to mute you, Lord, just because there's some background stuff. But this is great stuff. I want to take back to the dream a sec because I think the wisdom in you having a dream where you wake up and you still haven't had the cake is actually proving what I mean, that the anticipation is the ultimate flavor here. And feel free to jump back in. I was just clearing the mic, but it's the anticipation is truly the taste. And you know that. Your brain knows exactly what it wants. So it would ruin the dream, wouldn't it, to acquire the cake, because all of that flavor, is found in the pretending or the preparation for what's about to happen. And this is why I just keep going back to that word torque, because ultimately, if you believe you're about to get something, there's really no other stronger form of belief torque. Especially, This is why people tend to feel entitled and they feel victimized when what belongs to them, what does that mean? That belongs to me. This is owed to me. This is a real life pranic bond, right? That they're showing you in the world. So
I was also thinking your pleasure and pain thing, because it's like the thought of having pleasure, the hand before it touches you, is actually like a super titillating kind of experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like looking at the cake and salivating over a lemon square or a lemon cake,
Yeah.
before you eat it. It's like a pleasure and pain thing.
Exactly.
You know,
In fact, I have to put this in because it's really wise. Discerning Light's always dropping cool stuff in the chat, and it just typed, when working with somatic therapy, anticipation is everything, and it's so true. You would argue this is really all of it, isn't it? How much torque are you going to lodge into the confidence and the anticipation of what's going to happen through this event? This is really at the heart
even
of
like,
why.
yeah, and even like getting into a hot spring, before you go in it, there's a feeling, right?
Yeah.
And as you emerge into it, step by step,
Yeah.
it's like this. Things are turning online.
Yeah.
But just the thought about it gives you some pleasure.
And if we were to tap into our psychic momentum, I think that before we get in the shower, we could say, and we do. I'm still giving us credit, but I'm saying we could do this more intentionally, because we may tell ourselves, I'm just going to get the stank off, and this still counts. That still counts. But what if we were to say, I'm going to get in the shower because I want to heal my knee that is hurting right now. And that by pulling all these negative ions through my body, right? I'm pulling the art of just energy pulling, right? That's all a shower is. It's just an energy pull. But how does the shower know what to pull if I haven't told my body? Can't I tell my cells, hey, guys, why don't we pull this? And I know some of them are going to rebel. They're a bunch of freaking jihadists, driving around their Jeeps with their guns going, fuck you, God, and that's fine. But if I at least say it, the ones that are listening, Mike, and the ones that are trying to defy me, guess what? It's still in their head because they heard me say it. So now they're going to be like, let's purposely not do this. It's like, yeah, got you, bitches. Now it works for me. See? So we haven't yet done that,
again, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think that the torque, this is why I think torque is such a clue, because I think when we find ourselves having torque like this, really it shows you all it means. It's just like, well, wouldn't all your cells be convinced if you were in anticipation? They would all be convinced, which means it would create the reality. The reality is the tasting of the cake. It's not the cake. It's your experience of the cake. These are the fingers that we use to touch things, right? This experience.
That is so true. Sorry, my mic was on the back of my head, so you was hearing my hair. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's crazy.
That's better now.
So sorry about my mic. Yeah,
that's all right. Yeah, if I mute you, it's just because of that. This is all great stuff. Hey, Dark Bloom, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Very appreciated today's stream, and so this could be my Sagittarian kind of Venus nature, but even as we're talking about cake or anticipation or anything in that vein, Venus has always been the beauty, the goodness, the pleasure, and probably the full spectrum of that anticipation, expectation, and really exploration through the senses. And you were positing Venus in this way of how people react. And even as you were just talking about, there are people who anticipate the arguing and the conflict. And I found it really funny that you were talking about this planet that represents beauty, and people were essentially attacking your beauty. And as I sat with that, as I sat with that, you really inspired this idea in my brain between the difference of being terrified and Gaianized. Mm. And I really think that the hate, rage reaction that comes up when beauty is presented for people who aren't quite there yet is because it's expensive, because it's asking them to perhaps anticipate or explore something that they're just not quite willing to be there yet. And you're kind of showing them like, hey, you can be this beautiful too. And they're like, no, I can't. Like, no, you really can.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
It was interesting the way it played out. So I appreciated that.
Yeah. I should mention that I'm on the warpath the last 2 days. And what's weird is when I say warpath, I literally mean I'm holding people accountable for things that they've done to me in the past. This is what I mean by I'm on the warpath. And it's such an interesting experience that I feel that way, that I feel so awful about being on the warpath, that I'm literally carrying the hatchet and I feel disgusted with myself. And the last 2 days, the last 3 days, I've been like, and it's necessary. Like it's like part of this weird, because when I outline what is it exactly that I'm doing that's evil, and it's I'm going up to people and I'm saying you have committed wrongness and I'm here to allow you to witness that I still feel this. And this is really where the image of bearing the hatchet comes from, isn't it? Because to carry the hatchet is to brandish this wound. And if you think about the alchemical medicine of carrying the hatchet, it would be sort of like a lamplight, a kind of torch, a candle of remembrance, because you have value. And the thing that was done or the event that happened to you has moved and changed you in such a way that either the wound is still open or something else needs to sprout from it, or something else needs to be right now we call it revenge. I think it's much more primitive, because revenge requires a certain sense of entitlement, doesn't it? To feel revenge, you have to sort of feel like you've wronged me, which means I'm someone that should not be wronged. What does revenge look like before the psyche has that kind of pride? It's really difficult to find true revenge in a herd. In fact, it tends to be that what causes a lot of scapegoatism in herds is because there's such a short memory span. And so the black sheep gets blacker because the herd never remembers, hey, I was just stop fucking picking on that guy. Because it's always like, oh, well, you're the short guy. It's like, you just said that like 5 minutes ago. You just got through castigating me because I'm short. Now you're doing it again. And it's because of that low vibration kind of sentience, that you end up with culture where it's at. And I end up where I'm at, where I've lived so far on the fence that my entire immune system, my entire life has been, I will be so successful that people can wrong me and I will be faster than them. I swear that's been my tactic the whole time. No matter how much you take, I will be having more because of the speed of what I proliferate. And when I find myself the last couple of days in hatchet mode, it's because I'm looking at my resources and I'm saying I can't live that way. If I had that money back right now, I could use it for this, blah, 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 blah. Why have you never held this person accountable for it? Why have you never once called them out for it? Why? And it's because it fucking hurts so much to paint my face red and to pull this hatchet out and just take away one of my hands from making the art and say, well, I'm sorry, I got to carry this hatchet for a while, because I'm not making it an art itself. See, this is what I think this is why I do it now. Like, I have to learn how to do this creatively, it's a weird place. Go ahead.
And I know you were doing Mayan, and I just look for Mayan and Aztec. One, I really appreciated that you went back to Egypt and you said, hey, they didn't do this because they could perceive blue, which that also is good. But then I was thinking about even Nordic culture. So their war goddess is also their love goddess.
Yeah.
Very Venus.
Yeah. Which
would make sense because they are, I guess, two sides of the same coin.
The same octave, aren't they? It's the same note, isn't it? It's just different octaves. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
I hate to bring this up again, but power and rape, those things are in the same octave and they look red. Red is also, though, Muladhara. Red is also sexuality. So anger and sexuality are the same color. And if you're an elementarist, if you're someone that only sees two colors, anything red's going to look like violence. Any arousal doesn't this answer the idea about beauty as a kind of intimidation, a kind of attack that someone feels? because it's the exact same thing. You're showing them a color that's so prolific, but it only resonates in a violent state for them. Isn't this what Malamu is? Isn't the birth of charisma and beauty just Malamu? And that just shows you that charisma and beauty are intimidating. And we know that, but we only know that retrospectively. We only know that now as we're talking about it. Think about it. If your teeth are perfect, this is the quintessential natural pose for don't fuck with me. This is, if you see someone's teeth and they're all perfect, that is a sign of danger. That is a sign of intimidation. It's also a sign of beauty. Hey, look at that. That's interesting. Their hair is perfect. That's another one. They're taller. Oh, look at the long, tall, dark, and handsome. This is a intimidation thing too, isn't it? It's the same vibration. It's the same color. And I could, if anyone wants to doubt me, and I don't think anyone is, so I don't have to do that, but we could talk about the proclivity of sexual fantasies to borderline into things that would classify as neo-violent. Can I just say that, or do I need to explain more? You guys get what I mean, right? That for some reason we find it titillating to actualize fantasies that do invoke something maybe akin to that. Power, right? Power dynamics or whatever else. In fact, if you look at what's considered rated R, it's really interesting. It's really interesting that we live in a culture that's like, yes, you can shoot people in the face. That's fine. But you cannot show your genitals. You can't do that. I mean, you could show this part and that part, but not, it's, and I'm not even saying we shouldn't or shouldn't. It's, to me, it's just more, it's all declarative, isn't it? It's just all informative is what I mean. That we're just listening to culture tell us what it's like, despite insisting that it's not that way.
Rated R, rated red.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we're always remembering that we live in a ketchup and mustard society, and I mean that just as more of just like a compassionary statement. If you really understand that if we need everyone on the bus, then everyone on the bus is going to have to find all the food edible, all the colors digestible, but more importantly, discernible. They're going to get really mad. They're not going to feel like they're a part of society if you are talking about the color blue. You know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have a sacred priest that you're never going to say the color. And when they see it, they're not going to see it. They're going to see it as gray, and you're going to know that. You're going to know what color they see it as. And so you're going to call it lapis, stone. You're going to call it that. You're going to give it a name that allows everyone to be in the room with something. And I'm sure you guys know that maybe I'm not sure, but when you... If you go into Dendera and you go into one side of the temple and you look on the wall, there's a Horus maybe, and the Horus is like rough hewn. And then on the other side, if you leave that room and you go to the far corner and you go to that wall, facing the mirror image is the same Horus, but it's finished, so it's like perfect. These are shadow kind of boxes, and so. When one side you'll see Pharaoh's skirt or whatever, like his pants, and then the other side you'll see his mem. He'll just be like just erect as all get out. So you're looking at the idea that some people see things in stone that other people's don't. All the portals that are in Egyptian, there's always these doorways. These doorways are meant because if you're in the right state of mind, you don't just walk past those things. The is it called a stele? The giant? No. The pillars. They're
dead pillars.
I forget what they're called. They're these are actually giant pillars that are like they're sort of gates, And like at Luxor, there's like 5 of these things, and you have to walk between them. And they're giant pyres of just stone. I just forget the name, but you walk between them. They don't even necessarily have an arch that goes on top, but the whole purpose is, look, we got to build a giant bunch of rocks here, then a bunch of rocks here. And why? Because someone's going to walk in between them. And this is I think this is just an important idea, is understanding why does Venus look less intimidating when it's further away in the fucking solar system? Guys, it's not that they couldn't see things. It's that they saw things differently. Do you understand? The fidelity was pointed differently. So if you know that, and I'm not saying they know, they didn't even know. This is why it's so much more profound, that they didn't know that Venus was a whole hell of a lot closer. So it's only going to be occulted for 9 days. And then it's going to be as far away as it possibly can. It's going to be when it occults for 90 days. They don't know that. All they know is this is a different creature. And the only way that they know that it's different happens to be when it's further away. And when it's further away, it looks like a dog. It's a set. It's a coyote. It's this canine creature. This underworld fucking companion is just sitting there in the middle of Mesoamerican, the way they look at Venus. And they're set in Egypt. So you start to have to take it seriously. If you guys are going to think that the star is flicking blood at you, but only when it's close, you are more terrified, aren't you? You are more electromagnetically terrified by Venus when it's closer to you. Which means that you have that kind of fucking equipment on you right now. That equipment's been lit in you for 5,000 years. Which means if you go outside, I'm not saying you have to, but if you take off your clothes and you go outside, you're going to feel on your skin the fucking malamu of Venus. And the only reason why you don't know what's there right now is because a long time ago you told yourself, don't be afraid, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Yeah, but they're fucking thorn birds are coming. They're going to fucking come and take me. They're going to take my baby. They're going to take me. They're going to drag me to their village. They're going to tie me up on a rope. Then they're going to put me in the cage. They're going to tie me on the top of the pyramid. They're going to pull my... And what are you doing? Now you're fucking awake. You're alive. You were dilated. You were so fucking lit. You were terrified. And that gets toxic, doesn't it? The entire land gets possessed because this one group of hunters, remember, these are the same dudes. Remember, these are the same dudes that said, hey, can we borrow your daughter? Remember that? And then they're like, yeah, what are you going to do? Oh, we're going to honor her. We want to marry her. We want you to come to dinner. And like, oh, sure. This sounds great. We'll have a peace, right? And then they come. They dim the lights. Play a little jazz music. And the chief walks out wearing his daughter's skin. And this is reverence.
He's wearing her for prom.
Yeah, this is reverence. This isn't even like I'm pretending to be your friend. That's not how this is presented at all. This is this offend you? On the day of my daughter's wedding, you offended? Why are you offended? Look at her. She looks great. She fits me like a glove. Why is there a psyche out there like that? And it's because you're seeing a completely different world, aren't you? Think about what Versipellis means with a hatchet. If you're on the warpath and you're more prone to Versipellis, you would slip into vengeance mode. This is called berserk. On the plains or on the steppes, right? This is the warrior spirit of the Viking. They're so proud of themselves, the ability to enter into this state. Many will invoke pain upon themselves to set this out, Japanese will do meth and get behind the seat of a plane. These are states of consciousness that all of us are aware of and tap into when it's necessary. If you got to pull a Buick off a kid, or if you are fighting for your life in the back of an alley. These costumes are waiting, you know?
Yeah. I keep thinking about, do you think when Venus is pulsing like that closer, do you think it affects how they sense time? I just wonder if your time, kind of like a strobe light, how time changes and it's fractal. And it's funny because you're talking about bears, and I had this experience. I was out at this bar, and I had quit drinking, but I was out with some friends, just going like, all right, I'll go to a bar with you. And it was this wild French punk band. They were drinking white wine. I'm like, that's interesting. But right before we were leaving, there was a fight that broke out right in the door I was about to walk out into. And everything just slowed down. Mm-hmm. And someone sprayed bear spray. So I was actually bear sprayed.
Wow.
And everything just ticked down so slow. Every sense was alerted. Mm-hmm. And had I walked like 2 seconds sooner, I would have been within that exchange of glasses flying and water and punches and bear spray. And I just will never forget that moment. And it was just so slow. It was so slow. And I couldn't breathe. So that was a big factor.
Yeah, those 200 frames, it makes it look like time's going slower because you're processing more data in the same amount of time.
So much data.
So technically you have twice as many memories. If you were to look at the log of your memories, you would see that, wow, I've made twice as many engrams. I've imprinted twice as many, look, what's going on, versus, hey, what's up? And every time you say, what's up, right, your brain says, oh, I've got a vector at 5 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. And this is happening 200 times a second because you're in danger. So it doesn't care about conservation of energy. It cares about the conservation of preservation of life. So it leaves all of its caloric modes. This is called general quarters, by the way. And during general quarters, you go to, there's no such thing as a bunk. No one has a bunk. No one has a bed during general quarters. During general quarters, every single person is at a ready station. They go to that station and they are prepared to be a warrior, fight their flower war. Mm. If you can be compassionate enough to understand that you really were not expecting this dude to wear your daughter's skin, this means that you met him and you said, oh, he seems pretty great. like you thought that at one point, right? You sent your daughter to him. Now, it could be because that chief was just really stupid. Or it could be that you're looking at the same way that you're looking at culture now, where there's such a diversity of consciousness in the same room, in the same costume, wearing the same clothes. And I think that more has to do with versipellis than it has to do with fidelity. How much, if you think about the torque of belief and the anticipation of the cake, even though you haven't had the cake, you're remembering that. I want you to think about the same way the hedonists in ancient Greece would die because they couldn't say no. The same way the revenge porn, the alert adrenaline that it feels to render 200 frames a second, is something that's very hard to forget. Not because you're rendering 200 frames per second, but because you're so dilated. And when you're dilated, every pixel is running at full saturation. This is the closest thing I can say to describing it. And if you think about it, if every pixel is running at full saturation, you feel the most immersed in the world that you've ever felt before. And I would argue that that immersion is ultimately what we're questing for, that flow state, that being a verb. So you can invoke this flow state through terror. I wrote a book about this because I really believe in this concept. Not that I'm like, hey, let's do it. I'm just saying that if you were really trying to hack the body, if you really wanted to stretch the drum of the human to have a capacity of like an orca, you would need a steady supply of 4% trauma diet on a steady stream that's constantly ripping open the aperture, applying voluntarism. So you'd want to instill a state that makes them want to agree with the ripping of the muscle that just occurred. This isn't as hard as you think if you consider like someone who goes to a gym. There is a psychological state where someone would go into that kind of method, and that we just don't exercise our aperture in that way. We don't see it that way. However, a secret military program of super spies might want to do that. A sacred cult of moonchilds might want to do that. An elite family who wanted to just play around with eugenics might want to do that. I mean, I'm just saying there's a lot to play with here. And if you're a pharaoh, if you're an underground blue-skinned Saqqara people, you might undergo a lot of transhumanism, you could call it, in order to develop skills to become really a different species. And if you think about it, the shaman is its own species. The schizophrenia is what it feels like to have to be your own species. It's just that expensive. So you need more of you. Or you need to believe there's more of you. See?
Yeah.
Because it's cake, isn't it? It's a kind of cake.
Hey, Laura, your hand's up. Do you want to go ahead?
I put my hand up, I put my hand down, I put my hand up, I put my hand down. So I was thinking about red. It's the first color of the rainbow. It's like rage and it's love. It's a two-petaled flower of duality that causes the fertility cult, which would be really close to rage. Love and rage are very close because most crimes of passion, I mean, most things, homicides or whatever, are crimes of this love rage thing, which makes sense in the serpent of life being the first two-petal flower, right? Of red being the first color of the rainbow. So then I was like, right now I'm pondering what a steady state heart is. And what is it? What is a steady state heart when you're managing rage? It's like that is this emotion before it gets to there's something that happens in the brain before it goes to the brain, but it doesn't go to get rational. It's not rational. It's like versipellis, right? It's just, whoosh. It's like, you don't even know you did it, right? That's what some of your stuff was like, what happened? What happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did I do?
Right?
What did I do? Yeah.
What did I do? What did I do? And then I was thinking, well, then in the evolution, you'd have to, in this flower war, what would be the second? It wouldn't be blue, wouldn't be the second. It wouldn't be red and blue because blue wasn't seen. So then I'm like, where's this duality inside? I think it's in the red. I'm thinking, I was like, it's in this lower world where we go against ourselves because we're both masculine and feminine within. Mm-hmm. And then, so I've been balancing my heart, and I thought in my Peru teachings of the rainbow, the color green is everywhere, right? And the color of the heart chakra is green. And so it's called, supposedly, I think it was a mistranslation from Spanish to English, called concrete mind. It goes to the color of green, goes right before blue, which would be pure mind, which would be more of the Buddha or Christ consciousness. But I was like, getting to this green. This green is everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then how do I balance my wants, needs, and wishes? Because it's actually both physical and non-physical. So there's a transition in the psyche of like a color of white that goes to silver and a yellow that goes to gold and a purple that goes to violet. And they say when a man and a woman get together and create a child, there's a violet spark. Well, that's the color after color blue. So I'm kind of like putting your cosmology down into the cosmology of the rainbow, which is Peruvian cosmology, and in Cusco, in the capital of Peru, the rainbow is their flag. So it's like that idea of getting the hatchet out is a form of self-love, to hatch it away.
Yeah, it's a luxury.
Yeah, it's a huge
really
luxury.
Is.
And I was looking at the strength of changing contracts. It's weak not to change a contract. It's strong to change a contract. It's strong to change to get a hatchet and say no more. You know, and I don't know. That's just my thoughts on all your stuff.
This
is
a lot of great
about.
stuff. First of all, before I forget, it's terrifying to consider for me that if you were the younger brother in a family and someone was to wrong your family in some way, it would be your duty to avenge that. And it wouldn't matter if you thought maybe your brother did something wrong. All it is going to be is death for you until you complete that. And I'm agreeing that that's not sustainable. I'm agreeing I don't want that. I'm also honoring that it's showing you the true nature of these kinds of wounds. And it shows you the kind of luxury it is to even be able to ignore them. To have an idea like I've always had, which is because it hurts so much to seek revenge, I'm simply going to out-proliferate you. So you can take and steal as much as you want. This is what I had to do in my home. I couldn't live with the revenge hatchet energy of trying to equalize, make it fair for me or whatever. So it became more about, I'm just going to have more than I notice when it's taken away. And it's been that way in every relationship I've ever had. That's been my tactic. And unless I'm really low on energy, honestly, I kind of recommend it. It's kind of cool. If you can afford to, because if you start to think about justice, it's going to be a bad time, man. I have a bad time because I notice that it doesn't happen. Or I have enough torque to think that it hasn't happened enough that I create it not to happen. Maybe that's a more fair way to say. But enough of that, because I want to say that linguistically, beyond black and white is red. You learn to see that red after you learn to really just discern the loudness of non-black. So really white isn't even technically in there if you think about it. It's more of just not black. The first to emerge is this red. It's a different shade of this. The next linguistically to emerge, Lori, is green, just like you said. And the reason why it's green, I think, is actually quite beautiful because it's built into the rainbow. If you think about, if you're trying to discern the difference between the rainbow, you would kind of take a stab at the lower end and start to say, how is this vibration at the bottom different from the rest? And you would pull from the outer edge like a strand of discernment, and you would call that strand red. And the next thing you do is you still aren't able to go to the top end yet, blue, because you can't even see that fast. That's a much faster vibration. You're able to see red because it's slower.
That's right.
It's a fish that's wiggling very slow, right? So the next point up would not be the highest point, which would be the blue. It actually would be right in the middle. And you end up with green. And it turns out that the middle is where there's no polarization. So there are no green stars.
Yep.
Green is the most honest color in the world, isn't it? Literally, it's promising you, if you see me, if you see me, and keep in mind, green is the absence of green, believe it or not. The things that you see green are repelling green, aren't they? So it's just an interesting to think about what this really means. But green is an equalizer. It's telling you that there's
like
nothing
the green
that
screen.
can be fooled here. Yeah. It's so deep, though all these different meanings are so
when we're
colossally
looking out
deep.
in nature, we're really not seeing green?
We are seeing what repels green.
What?
And I want you to think about what this means. I want you
Maybe
to
that
think
has to
about
do with that shadow and that, like,
the
I don't know.
universe.
That's crazy.
The universe is a green dragon, and the only scales that exist are things that are not green. So everything that you see that is reflecting in green is showing you the repellation of green. And the repellation of green is kind of like the shadow we talked about with Ra. It is the universe admitting, I fucking see you, dude. What are you, mauve? All right. Hey, mauve. How's it going? And that mauveness is coming because when I shine my greenness through you, what is the big bang with no volume is the sound of green. It is the center of no turbulence is green. That's why green is so heart-centric, Lori.
That's incredible.
That's why it's the sun too. Isn't it interesting? Well, wait a minute. The sun's yellow. Well, yeah, but the yellow is the center because everything is orbiting around that entity.
Right.
Right. So that's why I think linguistically green comes next too. What comes after that? Fear. Yellow. After you have found a center, only after you have found a center can you value losing it. Boom. This is the birth of fear.
True.
Fear comes, this is not anger, right? You can have anger without losing something. You could be angry for a lot of reasons.
That's right.
My back hurts. Fuck, I'm going to bite someone. My back hurts. That's enough. But if you want to feel yellow, oh my God, you're going to need to know center, and you're going to need to know anger, and you're going to need to know non-blackness. If you can sense all of those things, we can start to talk about yellow and what yellow looks like. And then finally, if you learn all those, do really good, we'll take you down to Dendera and we'll ask you to tell us, what do you see on this stone wall? And if you can see, you would see something very different, wouldn't you? You would know which tiles are blue. You would know. And they would know that you know, and you would know that they know, Yeah, you know. And this is this initiation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good.
And you would find a sacred temple. Think about it. If you're a priest, you would say, wait, this isn't our secret. This is fucking built into nature. I can go to China. Remember that Chinese kid we brought? Yeah, that dude could see blue too. Yeah, that was freaky. We thought it was only if we thought you had to be 4 feet tall. No, that kid was like 5'8". He's like 3'7" or whatever. So how does this work? You found a hermetic secret society in daytime, in the daylight. Do you see what I mean? Wow, look, these people can't see this color. These people can. Think about how all of us are insisting we're the fucking same.
That's right.
I think this is one of the most cleverest ways to protect the secret society. I think that God went to extra measures to make sure that this stuff worked this way. And you can't have it carved in a wall. That's going to ruin it. You have to, first they'll hoard it. They'll say, well, we have sacred magic because we'll tell you the sacred color blue because we keep it in a box and then finally what happens with the Latin Bible, the Vulgate? People are like, hey, wait, turns out Kevin over here learned how to read. Oh, shit. Wait, Kevin can read? Yeah, he's going to read the Bible to us, so you can just fuck off. And now the church is like, well, shit. So the secret society is been there the whole time. It's there. It's just facades take it over sometimes, right? And pretend to be it. And then the people that didn't see it anyway, now they really don't see it because now they think that they see something else that's representing it. And this is brilliant. This is how you would hide things. This is how you would hide things. This is how a reef would create what's your job? Your job is to create a barrier for things, to create privacy inside your pores. I swear to fuck. Go to Africa. Tell them this. Say, isn't it true that Zaru Zaru means this? And they'll say yes. Because that's really what it's like. Can you covet? Can you covet color? Can you covet emotion? Can you covet fear? Aren't you supposed to have fear but not show it? It's like one of the base things, right, in nature. Because seriously, that you'll be eaten alive by a pack if you show fear. So you're trained from the very beginning, secret society, to keep a secret. You're trained from the very beginning. And we're told it's the exact opposite, right? Like we're told, well, you're evil because you're keeping secrets. So bad.
Yeah, I imagine the border between, you're running into a forest, and that's a whole new element in the greening scope. And then sometimes you want to run out of the forest to the clearing. So those transition spots are interesting. Bloom, your hands up. Go right ahead.
We ended up coming back to this in a very fun way. And Renee, I really appreciated the share of the French punk band drinking white wine. That's funny, but
I know, wasn't it? I was like, what is happening? This is just, of course there would be bear spray at the end of that party.
Yes. But James went into talking about how that is this full saturation, immersed, technically total light state. And now we're talking about what is occulted. And he posited today this idea that the rejection of the Luciferian is really the rejection of accountability. And we see this, with the flower wars, with where consciousness and unconsciousness is in culture. And all I can sit here and think and laugh is about the planetary correlation that no matter what, no matter which aspect we're looking to apply a thing, it still turns out to be true. So yeah. I think the funny part within this is that accountability requires redemption, but redemption would require remembrance and recognition. And I think it's hard because when you talk about your childhood, and I'm sure others, this adherence to justice, our idea of justice is very rudimentary. It's less about accountability and more about like an apparatus. So this occulted nature is this idea that light gives you the ability to move into that remembrance and recognition so that you can touch redemption. And wouldn't that be occulted in a society that really doesn't want to look at itself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. The accountability. It's interesting. The abilities we have to account for things, that's an ability. And to respond is an ability.
And to deny.
I'm just tapping into like, these are abilities that you can, To
deny something is a really powerful psychic weapon, isn't it? Like a constructive psychic weapon. I can make it, says that. Oh, I can make it, but you're bleeding. I can make it. Keep going. Get in the chopper. This is all manipulation, And that's why when you start to look at the Wolfram Schultz stuff and you realize, wait, the whole brain's doing this. There's not a fucking thing about this brain that Surfer is like to be rational. No one's doing that in the brain. All this stuff's rushing in saying, hey, I swear the biggest emergency in the world. You've got your leg's actually on fire. I need you to scratch it because it's actually on fire. We saw it. There's like liquid, acid, fucking aliens running around. You got to scratch it right now. That's how it comes in. And that's compression. This is what's, I think that we really start to see the truth when we start to understand that that's compression. So when you start to look at what these emotions really are, they're just amperage, amplitude. And that amplitude's necessary. Sometimes that amplitude's necessary for it to get passed through a medium. I want you to think about there's a guy on the other side of the field yelling at you and you're saying, sorry, I don't respond to people who are shouting. And he's like, but... And then he starts whispering. You're like, oh, I can't hear you. Sorry. And this is denial, isn't it? look how clever you're being. You're able to make that invisible. It's fucking invisible. Poof. It doesn't exist. And that's why I carry around hatchets, because the people that I love who are not being accountable for the things they've done, they're able to deny things so well that it makes me pick up a hatchet. And it makes me want to say, you're denying this. And spray it with spray paint or whatever it takes, you know. It's not all the time. But it really is an honor of the psychic power that's, you know, that we all exercise around us.
Certainly, certainly. Hey, Joel, your hand's up. Go right ahead. Joel, can you
He's
hear
getting
me?
there. Yeah, we're waiting for the red mute to go off. He'll get there. I'm glad Joel's here.
Yeah, I've got extra decades of lack of technology, instant thumb pushing. My thumb is not evolved.
See, he
as
gets
well.
to say that because he just wants to take his time. See, so he gets to say, "Oh, it's because of this." No, go ahead, Joel.
No, I'm known around here as the lumberjack, so I understand the hatchet. But I appreciate everything you've done today, and and even Saturday. It's been a great week of discovery and your expansion of this whole thing. I find Venus quite fascinating. I don't know how my soul attracted a year-long study of Venus and astrology in my chart and all that other fun stuff. And I think it was because in some people's view of this, you know, it's the reflection of us identifying ourselves and before we put ourselves into the 3D game of the earth.
Yeah.
And so we kind of put ourselves in the fire there. And I kind of find it interesting that we've been getting major solar flares in the last 4 or 5 days. So Venus has been getting hit and bouncing that energy into us.
Flicking.
And wondering if that's what you're sort of picking up on. Because it has been sort of a time,
Yeah.
you know, of this reflection for us to understand our being and being that and embodying it. So much so. And I think, you know, what you're going through is of cutting these anchors that have sort of played their role in protection of you in the past, but are not necessarily there. And that's why you're sort of feeling a little guilty about it, maybe. I certainly have had plenty of people wrong me, from turning in fake IDs to the point where I was facing felony charges to, you know, other types of business deals where people just didn't come through.
Yeah.
And sometimes I look at those as soul contracts, in the fact of maybe I did something, you know, like I'll give you a perfect example. People just drop off crap to my dumpster at my business, you know, neighbors that live in apartments and stuff of that nature, or stuff like that. It's like, I have pulled the stuff out and brought the bags back because, you know, I found their bills or whatever and stuff of that nature. Some of them have been injured. Some of them have been just punks and stuff of that nature. But I wonder if in my past life, I was a polluter to these individuals in a time period where I left my trash. And so now they're coming back and giving me that experience to understand it. And it's for me to sort of process it without attachment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the same thing would be, you know, the same thing where money has come and money goes. It's like, okay, I must have wronged this individual or this spirit part of me in a past life. And now I'm here to heal this and honor it and not overreact to the point where I have to go punish somebody. Because there's definitely some people where I've driven a few cities and sat there going, okay, am I going to go to this level or not?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I've stopped myself. So, I mean, you know, there's something about it, but I totally understand that juice of desire, of revenge. And I do believe that we can't all heal if we hold on to that. And truthfully, that revenge is just an anchor. And I think you're blossoming so much lately that your soul just doesn't want any more of these anchors. You know, it's just you don't need that creativity part of it. per se.
Yeah.
Maybe. Hopefully
Well,
that
I've-
helps.
I've been definitely double flipping people off these last 48 hours. It's like, F you. It's just like, it's literally just like, I am so mad right now. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, thank you, but fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so disappointed. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's in the field. And this is Venus going like, clear this table,
Yeah.
new setting.
Yeah. I like both
setting.
these things. Yeah. I feel like I'm always using this alchemy as an excuse to, well, this is doing to you because, you had this, or you need to grow this way, or the alchemy's there. That's all very, very highly constructive posture work that I highly recommend. It's part of your calligraphy every day.
Sure.
And I think in addition to that, there's also, do you build boundaries where you actually hold people to account if they've wronged you? I don't mean hold to account like I have to have an eye now. I mean more simply, hey, this did happen, and I'm reminding you of that. It's not a place of I'm expecting something from you. It's a place of I'm taking the time to stop what I'm doing, to pick up this hatchet, to walk over here and show this person that I still have it, because that's a kind of honoring that I've never done because of how icky it feels to have to do that. How unpleasant, how difficult of an exercise it is for me to have to do that, for me to have to honor myself enough to go through that is kind of what I'm getting at, Joel. I'm not trying to say this is better or it's okay. I'm not at all, because I feel how much it drains me. And I was thinking today, I wonder if it's more about I'm tending to a wound that I've been ignoring the whole time. And when I pick up the hatchet like this, I really am doing work that's constructive. And it just hurts because it's constructive, It's akin to I'm pulling the bullet out myself, here, hold this. Oh,
I was going to ask you, have you journaled? Have you journaled to find out where that, before your age 10 or 8 experience occurred?
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah. I think part of,
You've already identified this.
I feel like that
personal.
I actually feel like it's my greatest gift is how much injustice I had growing up. It's like stunningly clear. Like it's maybe when I was younger, I was more like, oh, what's going on? But now it's just more like a power center. Like it's like a potlatch. I'm like, hey, let me show you my past. And you're just like, oh my God, how come you're normal? I'm like, right? Like I'm a pretty cool dude, right? It's like, yeah, look at you. And it's all because of that.
Well, I used to get bullied a little bit, so anytime I see somebody bullying, I step right up and start going after them, Yeah,
so see, that's what I mean. Yeah, all the injustice that I suffered was technically, I want you to picture that scene in King Arthur where Morgaine's like rubbing honey on her child, and she's like, oh, no one will ever hurt you. No, you are invincible. And you're just like creepy as you're like, what the fuck is this going on? And that technically all of the scapegoat is the preserved child that's anointed in neglect and apathy because they're about to go through a portal where they escape the fucking family. Yeah. Do you understand?
Hallelujah.
Yeah. And
so if you can see it that way, you may be able to also sometimes afford revenge for the first time. Maybe revenge is the wrong word, but you can afford to burnish the hatchet and not feel like you're terrible for doing it. To actually feel like it's ceremonially, you're honoring yourself by doing it.
I agree, 100%.
And it's unclear, by the way. I'm not saying this is it, Joel. I'm telling you this is the struggle, that's been this kind of thing lately. Yeah.
I think it has to do with, how tall you're standing in that sense as well. If you're like, oh yeah, this is fucking right. Oh my God, you're so tall. You're just like, yeah, this is this is warranted.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of crouched and you're just like, like, I think it all depends on how you play, how you swing a bat, how you swing a racket, how are you standing, where are your feet?
Calligraphy. Yeah.
But it's also, it seems like it's the same theme of what we're, and maybe it's, again, a universal energy, because I certainly have said this a little bit, is being seen. You're obviously, what Lori was talking about, not being seen in her environment.
Yeah.
You weren't really seen by this individual of your true self, and that's why they wronged you. I mean, I think that's majority of the time that we do certain things is that we're not actually realizing we're doing it to ourselves. And you want to make sure, or you have the availability to write it. And I think this is exactly what the universe is trying to create, is scenarios to know for other people to learn from their own mistakes. And by you having your own dragon killing of not feeling worthy enough to state that you were violated is that healing that's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's deeper for me in exactly what you're talking about. This is part of the deepest swamp, honestly, is how uncomfortable it feels to be able to call people out, to be able to do stuff like that. It's because I can show you a repeated pattern of where I feel, honestly, I think I could make a good case in court that I've been unjustly penalized because I've been seeking justice. And it's because
I believe that. I mean, think about all the devils that are trying to keep you from succeeding. I mean, the last thing they want you to do is march people in line. I mean, come on.
The clarifier, and the clarifier here for it is not that injustice is done to me. It's that injustice is part of the smell that I betroth because of a lifetime of knowing that I'm not going to have injustice. So I put out that scent that purposely attracts that kind of interaction because I'm calling that back into my reef over and over again. And the only way to fix it could be that you have to pick up a hatchet.
Yeah.
I didn't say you have to kill somebody with it, but you actually have to pick up a hatchet and you have to stop what you're doing. And I think when I look at what I'm doing, I don't even see the word revenge. I see regret because that hand could be on a piano right now. That hand could be on, something else. That, in other words, that's where the anger is. It more comes from that. And it comes from, if you would have followed through or given this back or returned our property or done the right thing or whatever, I would not be in this situation where I'm even considering that. This is a victim stance, and it's also a boundary stance of I have worth and you wronged me, and I'm here to remind you of that because no one ever did. No one ever reminded you of that. You were allowed to just walk out with that. And when you've had that from a very young age, it becomes very debilitating because it just hits. You hate society, and if you want to like society, you kind of have to go back into the dog park and just let people really fuck with you because they smell the fear on you until the fear's gone. You sort of just like you got to shake it off. And that's kind of this hatchet thing, it's kind of this, and I hate it. I don't want anyone to see me do it. I also don't want to get in trouble because I've always gotten in trouble. That's usually what happens is I get in trouble when I start to exercise justice in that way. So it's such a like it's a very one energy. Like you are one in this match of psychic match or literal type it out match. But it is how do you stand within your directing that? You're very magician-y, you guys. You got to be careful with this because it is very powerful. Yeah. How you direct your things and pretend. Yeah. So when you stand really like I fucking feel so fucking, I don't want to just leave this here because there's some work to be done and it's not mine. It's more like that. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Beautiful stuff. Aquarian ages, man. Like we are not. This is Hades.
Hades, man, Aquarius and Pluto. And we have Lauren's hand up. Hi, Lauren. Go right ahead.
Yes. I put on the video for a second. Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
So anyway, we were talking a little bit earlier today about Mesoamerica and the bloodletting of piercing of the tongue when Venus was seen. And that sort of made me reflect on something I did when I was 14, and I found myself in the southern part of Mississippi. I don't know if I was trying to secure some kind of cosmic balance, but I sure did pierce my tongue, and I don't think it was for beauty reasons.
wow.
It's something internal, and I had always wondered, why did you do that? And then why did you keep it till your late 20s? So that began to make a little bit more sense to me, just as the people who saw the flashing of Venus or seeing a color, hearing it make a noise. But also beyond that, I just wanted to touch on the colors we were talking about earlier. Nightly, I do a mantramic practice, and I really can't go too far into it, but, I say a mantram, I focus on one spot, I have a light behind me. The whole point is to see where I am within my development and my spiritual path. And at first, it was just a light, and then it turned into a green color. But instead of going to a yellow, the newest colors are blue and purple. And it is very, very beautiful. And I was told that, well, what you're seeing is just the universal colors of fire, of life, that's in absolutely everything. So I'm pretty happy that I skipped over that yellow. And I'm just wondering what comes next. But, being intimate with these colors is a very beautiful thing.
I hate to give this away, but since your video was on for a sec anyway, I think that you being a ginger might have something to do with you skipping yellow, Lauren.
You know what? I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah.
It's been such a difficult color to carry around. I don't even really like talking about it much because it brings out a lot of different feelings in other people that I've honestly just had to deal with all throughout life.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fear kind of gets killed when you have to deal with just so much either love or hate from people.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot more fear for you to start to see the shade of it, The terrifyingness needs to be much more orca. It needs to have a higher amperage. And the seeing in the violet colors, I'm not saying you need anything to play with, but I'm just saying that it would be fun to consider the idea of playing with what's the next shade. Because if you look at the ladder that we were just talking about, where first you discern non-blackness, this is the first way that you would see something. This will be the same as maybe Nancy seeing magenta or you seeing an overall deep purple everywhere. The first thing would be to see the difference, right? So the difference from regular reality would be this overcoat, and that overcoat you would start to discern, and you would want to nibble at the lowest layers. Those lowest layers, because it's higher, would be these purples, these violets. So you're looking into the violets, and you're technically searching for the new red, aren't you?
I was wondering.
You've already found the difference, the brightness, the black versus white, not really white, but the lack of blackness would be the overall hue. And that overall hue is going to have a difference. And that difference is no longer going to be a steady hue, because the more you focus on it, the more you will develop this red, right?
It's funny you say that, because the other day I discerned like a brick red color. I'm like, am I seeing brick red?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if this is beautiful or if this is mucky.
Yeah.
But, I guess I'm just going to have to keep working on it.
Yeah. And it's there because if you think about it, every note has an octave.
Right.
And really what's stopping you from hearing that next octave is that you haven't practiced listening to those kinds of notes before. So it's really just a matter of believing it's there. I call this the reaching under the couch for the remote, you know?
Right.
It phases into existence because you have so much torque and believe that you can reach it. So these colors maybe are found the same way. So that red, if we wanted to play with this idea, if we wanted to say, oh, this might be true, then you could even take it further and you can go, well, wait a minute. Let's think about the octaves. First octave. When I say first, I'm not going to tell you which one's higher or lower because it'll just ruin it. It doesn't matter to me. First octave is sex, fertility. The second octave is power. These two octaves look the same to a simpler mind, which means that you, being the simpler mind, we would be able to predict, check it out, this is how we discern new color. We'd be able to pretend and predict the emotional fucking flavor of that high octave red because it would be in the same realm as those two things. The essence of blood, the essence of life itself, the essence of will would be something, the purpling of blood. If you think about how blood moves between red and blue, maybe this is the early conscious mind not being able to see the color of will yet.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because will would be this sort of purple vector, wouldn't it? The vector would be a direction, which the direction would be the discernment out of the solid deep purple. That inside the deep purple, you wouldn't necessarily see a new color. You'd see a jet stream, wouldn't you? You'd start to see vector jet streams. And now we're talking tetrachromatic electrical vision, aren't we? So we can see, I'm blind as a bat, but I can see through compassion because I'm telling you what the feeling would probably have to look like because of how much passion I have for middle C, for low C, and for high C. And compassion is a kind of eyeball of will, isn't it? You're learning to see vectorized will, aren't you? You're learning to see intent. And intent is a kind of spin. And a spin would have a color. It would have a pulse, wouldn't it? And you could see that pulse. And that pulse would come from practice. And you would have to believe it's there. You know, you'd have to believe that would be there. And then I think after you start to see will, you would start to see the first hue of will. You could go even further and you'd start to see what is the green of will? What is the green color? What is the next octave of green? If you've discerned this whole other spectrum of will, which is this neo-red, this violet red higher state, then the octave
I
of
like
green,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, the octave of green would have this similar flavor. I'm only saying go to green because if you compassionate what the higher color would be, now we can build our way down. We know, it's going to be somewhere in between these two. And I think the compassion for the world is a requirement for this. I think you're going to have to believe that the world is perfect. You know what I mean, Lauren? Because if you don't, you wouldn't be able to discern that there's an octave here.
Because you'd be carrying within you vibrations that would hamper seeing those colors.
Yeah, because you believe in dissonance. You've pretended that there's a dissonant octave there. So you would tune into the noise. But if you believed it was perfect, you would be able to reach under the couch and touch that middle C that's above middle C, that's above that middle C, that's above that one. And you'd know exactly what it would look like. You'd know how heavy it would be. You know what it would taste like on your tongue. And here I think is the biggest secret because we just got there with compassion. And it could be that that's how you do it. It could be that that's literally just how we see everything. What we lack is the societal agreement that we can see will. Think about how hard it's going to be to convince all the hyena that we want to be able to see your will, that we want to know what your true feelings are.
That's huge.
Yeah.
They're going to withhold.
Yeah.
Withhold.
And the more that they
strip away.
withhold, wouldn't that stop it? Wouldn't that put so much noise up there that collectively, until you really learned how to shamanize yourself, to separate yourself into your own species, it would be a lot harder for you to see those colors, wouldn't it? Will would be hidden by noise. Yeah. Yeah, that you would see more will the more time you spend alone, because when you come into someone's field, you feel, oh, this will, something's up there. Because it's not my will. I know what my will looks like because I practice listening to it, you know?
Yeah.
It's been a blessing to have a lot of time alone, really. It's been the main thing, I think, that has spurred on all of this.
Yeah.
There's been no dissonance.
Yeah, it's a biggie.
No distractions. Anyway, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Every instrument needs silence, you know? That's the first thing you need.
Agreed. Thank you, James. Thank you so much. Huge smile. Thank you.
Thank you. Great stuff.
Wonderful. I was just trying to jump in, and I'm sorry if I jumped in on you guys, but we're talking about reefs and not necessarily having a group of friends that you associate with and spend time with, but you're alive and you live in a place where there's other people. So I was walking up to the park. I've been frequently since 1997, and ended up I was a bit distracted. I was up there kind of playing around. I was playing in, and a woman, a dog. I noticed a dog by me. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a dog here. And this one, I started speaking, and she shared with me that she was kind of in a rush because her mother was transitioning this week, and she was, getting some fresh air and some space for her, for her going through that. And so beautifully, that's the same place I spent a lot of time in 2009 when my mother was transitioning to leave. So just to be on the edge of that reef and to meet someone else that is akin to you in this particular time and place and space where their experience, I was just like, this is so beautiful. Yeah. And we didn't exchange names. It was a quick conversation, but so much was really, really felt. And I did share with her that, she said her mom is transitioning. And I said, well, my mother returned in 2009. And that seems to give me, I feel a lot of solace when I think of it as more of a return.
Yeah.
And, whether she heard that, felt that, maybe thinks about it later, but I'll always remember it, so I think she will too. Just those really special meeting places happen when you don't have all these other obligations because you're not a hermit, right? Hey, Bloom, you got your hand up. There you go. Good to hear from you again.
I was just going to talk about the hermit, but that is beautiful because the hermit eventually has to step out, right? And every kind of thing that I've listened to both, James speak about and anybody within this very wonderful Dojo Earth collective, a lot of us come to this place where we end up recognizing how lucky we were to be so unlucky.
Yeah.
And that the hermit needs that. And it's not just the hermit, the shaman, the whatever, that coming to the center of the green, of the magic, so that. And now I think we're in the phase of this stepping out to kind of be this Venetian, depending, lantern anyways, where we shine from this place of beautiful faith, which is probably really Malamu. And that is scary because if I think about what that light really means, it comes back to basically what you were just saying, James, where when you go out into the world, what you're really saying is show me your true colors and don't give me any static about it.
I like that. I was talking to a friend / client of mine today, and I started singing, and he's like, well, now why did you do that? why didn't you just break into song? I go, we're just going to start doing that from now on. We're just going to start singing. This is what's going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. Yeah. He's like, well, it was just funny. So that's, you can really play. You really can play. And, play is the new medicine. Okay, Lori, go ahead.
I break into song all the time. Whenever someone has a lyric, I have a song. It's so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
I love all the shares tonight. It's been amazing. And I think the only way I could have gotten to where I am is to have been as in the gift of isolation, the gift of the green point of the green screen, that I'm writing the script. And to change the script would be what I thought was strong was weak, and what I think is weak is strong.
Yeah.
What I thought was strong is I could do hard things, and that means I would self-sacrifice, gritting my teeth to stay strong. But to be strong is not necessary to, I'd say it is a form of hatchet, but it is a form of what you have said in the past, a clean sword. And I no longer have to have this contract. I came here thinking it was going to be one thing, but it is not that thing. But it was like what you said, the most unlucky things are the best things ever, to be Dark Bloom just said. And I thought, wow, the strength of having I have no trigger, I have no anchor, but I'm also vibal. A vibe libel, and they would call it frequency specific. I am not frequency specific for here. And it could change. I'm giving it till Friday, Mary Magdalene's Day, and to see if it shifts.
Yeah.
And because there's so many gifts that were given, but to stay longer than the hard thing would be, the strong thing, the heart that's pumping strong, would be to cut quick and renegotiate Lori. The contract.
Exactly.
If I already got my lightsaber, it's already here.
Yeah.
Then it's important to take my hermit and my light somewhere else rather than sacrifice. Call that strong, and it's really weak.
Yeah. A beast of burden wants to be measured for its ability to never change and to always put up with it and to completely fulfill the contract regardless of the weather.
Yes.
That's considered a good beast of burden, isn't it? And then there's a human, and the human's supposed to be like, I love myself too much. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for us to talk ourselves into different holes, Yeah. And society's always going to be built around making it easiest for the lowest common denominator. And I really want you guys to consider that's how compassionate nature really is. Mm-hmm. Like that's a lot of foot dragging. To make sure all of those people have another 1,000 years to say, what did I do? That's nature understanding how precious these watermelon, these cabbage are, because it takes 200,000 years to get this way. Why can you not wait 5,000 more years? Guys, stop euthanizing. I'm not even going to allow it. And if my neocortex was in charge when I was 16, I would have been a father. The most important things that would have happened, I would have decided in the moment, that I really want to get laid right now. That's the most important thing ever. And thank God did not have enough power. Thank God that my body had this other power that was pretending to let my neocortex think it was making decisions and ever so slowly exposing it for the fool that it is, so it can still love itself but still understand how foolish it is. And when I think about the delicate moss of injustice, we've discussed this before, but I think my Asperger's, or if we're going to say that's what it is, comes from this sense of injustice, because I read about this and it really resonated with me. I really lose my shit over injustice. And I think that this goes back to what you guys were just talking about, that if it was not for injustice, I never would have become a hermit. I never, ever would have left. I would have stayed right there in society. And I would have said, what do you guys want me to be? Oh, you want me to be a lawyer? Cool. And I'm not even saying there's anything wrong with that. But I'm saying there's no way in a million fucking years you could have talked me out of St. Elmo's Fire as a vision of my life. And talk about the movie, by the way, but like this idea that I was going to go to Oxford and that I was going to be able to do those things, and how crucially important and how desperate I was dying because I noticed I wasn't going to even get to go to college like that. It was just like, that's the only crack that allowed me to find this hermit. That lifetime of growing up in this sense of being promised something and then having it taken away. It took that kind of impact, that kind of oof, which means I needed a brother who was given that opportunity. And I needed to witness that in my presence. I needed to watch him shit on it and disrespect it. Then I needed to watch them deny it from me because it would hurt his feelings and shit like that. Just like, oh my God, it's a perfect kind of way to pull your skin off. Because I know the second you get off this table, I know the second you can emancipate yourself, you're going to be out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Because of all the injustice I gave you here today. This is Babylon giving me her teat, isn't it? She's saying, you're going to need this, dude. You got it in you. You're going to be a hermit. You're going to need a lot of injustice. It's the only way, you know?
Yeah.
And if I knew that, I would be terrified, wouldn't I? If I knew that going in, I would have somehow tried to find a way to sabotage it. I needed to fool myself. I needed to be embedded like a terrorist cell inside myself.
Love it.
I mean, sorry to jump in, guys. How's that?
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad, what the
Hey,
heck?
what's happening,
Dell's
guys?
in the town. Dell's in the barn.
Hi, Brad.
But you're right on point, James. I mean, if I had, known how hard it was going to be or how much it was going to hurt, because initially, don't we all just want to go along to get along? Maybe I'm speaking for myself there, but it did take it kicking my ass before I was finally like, all right, I'll look at this now.
Yeah. The first time you reject society, you may think that it's society rejecting you.
That's how you pitch it, right? That's exactly the first mode, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly perfect too, because that's why you tend to, first time you look at society as the enemy.
Yeah.
And which is why when you're talking about octaves, I think it takes pushing you through that hermit phase to come back and maybe look at a different octave and being like, okay, maybe society doesn't hate me. Maybe it was this, it was learning what it is.
It could even be, I need society to hate me, so I'm going to drop all these prana bombs wherever I go, but I'm not going to be conscious of it. And I'm hoping they're going to catch up to me. I'm hoping these people are going to finally have enough of me, and they're going to corner me, and they're going to eat me alive. I really mean that, Brad. I think that I've called that into myself in several. I remember once in Boy Scouts it happened. I think I wanted out of Boy Scouts, and I knew that if I got these guys to kick the shit out of me, I wouldn't have to come back to Scouts anymore.
Oh,
I think I knew that. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and when you really start to trust yourself that way, you're going to find that all the courage, you didn't realize how much courage you actually had. This is why I talk about the hindbrain is that kind of entity, because I think if you understand that the beast of burden mentality and then put that in the back of your skull and call that all your base urges at the lowest octaves, I think you really understand yourself and you're like, oh my God, I'm great. This is great. Because you can build up enough momentum of dumbfoundedness to kind of oomph your way through things. If you knew that about yourself, if you knew that you had that kind of just raw weight to your will, Because ultimately the ones that have been stepping on me my entire life have been Versapellis. Wouldn't you guys say that the times that you feel that you're not been seen is because someone's in skin turning mode?
And isn't that the hardest thing to compassion is their Versapellis and then our own compassion, our own?
Yeah, because they don't value what they steal. This is why it's so hard, because in Versapellis mode, they don't have value. They're not that kind of person. They're not going to see even fear the same way. It's all a different octave, you know? So all the appreciation becomes invisible in front of Versapellis. And when appreciation becomes invisible, that's a direct threat to your life. It really is. If you think about who you are and how complex your fidelity is, being around, you see this all the time where who always wins the fight? The dude with nothing to lose. Do you see what I mean? That's that lowest common denominator. Nature's always looking out for that guy. Nature's always like, guys, let Kevin come. And you're like, Kevin fucking sucks. And it's like, guys, let Kevin come. He's fine. You're Kevin too. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Oh, Kevin. Hey, we got Joel's hand up. Go ahead, Joel. His big thumbs. Joel,
Lumberjack. It's hard to get the axe to click on that little tiny button, you know?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You have no idea. You have no idea. You have no idea. James, I think that's why I was drawn to you in the fact that I have been going through certainly the battle of what you just talked about. And I find it fascinating that my soul wanted to set itself up for that. I got involved with an only child who owned a restaurant, and got involved with the family business over 20-something years ago. And that individual was certainly a big personality. And not that I'm not a vocal personality, as you might be able to pick up on my flavor, but the process of going through taking over the business after he passed away, what the community thought he was, and I often was misinterpreted as his son because we had similar personalities and looks, and me going through the evolution of decision of, am I going to take on the full role of this family dynasty, or am I going to still play the role of Joel Baker? And is this going to be a chapter that eventually will be closed? And I just celebrated my 28th anniversary this past weekend, and it's been a certainly long journey ever since he passed away and everything of that nature. So I totally resonate with what you say, how and what we're going through, and feeling it in an entirely different manner after what you just communicated, and how I should appreciate more of where I am than I may have not woken up this morning with. How's that?
Yeah, good.
If that helps.
Yeah, this is the posture, the antenna, you know, the fidelity. The more comfortable it is to listen, the louder you're going to be able to turn up the signal. The more.
Well, I don't know if the industry can hold its own. I mean, we do well business. Everybody wants us, but the way that the restaurant industry is getting squeezed, the pressures of certain wages and everything, it's not easy anymore.
Yeah.
And getting into my late 50s, it's sort of lost its fun. And so, the quandary is, okay, is it time to get out and move on and be more of what Joel Baker was before he was in this business? Or is it is it keep myself in the fire and redevelop it and do this and that? But the body isn't there like it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always, it's always been like deeply ingrained in me how cool it would be to have a restaurant since I was just little. Seriously, I just, out of all things you can do with your life during the day, I just think feeding people is just, it's just so dilating. There's just so much about it that's so dilating, but it's not like life or death. Like, oh, you're a paramedic. That's dilating, right? Because you're like, yeah, sucking chest wound today. I'm fucking lit. You know, it's, you have the same high, but it doesn't have the same kind of stakes.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You know, for me, it does, because I mean, we've been around for 47 years now, 48 years, and you know, we are that people for the ambulance people and for the fire department. Like we actually, we had a major fire, and the fire chief called up and was like, "We got to feed these guys. They've been up all night. Can you do anything?"
Yeah.
And you know, of course, we stepped up and fed them.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, that's what, to me, it's fundamental. I've worked in food service too. It's like, because it's necessity, right? Food is necessity. And that's what I think feels good in community, no matter what we do, in terms of just taking the metrics out of the side of it, right? But when it comes down to just people need to eat, people need, and these are all things that are actually more meaningful than just the marketing or the metrics of it. So if you're in the industry of it, because I have been too, like you said, it's more than just the.
It's magic. You're playing magic. You're taking, you're taking elements that meaninglessly by themselves and mixing them and being a mixologist and turning them into something that actually gives not only you pleasure of satisfaction that you can actually be that type of person to put those elements together.
Yeah.
But to serve it in a manner that puts a smile on their face, or they tell you you're great. It's just like,
you're curating
music.
their calories, man.
You know,
that's awesome. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's it.
It's very artistic.
That's very cool.
It's definitely. That's why I wonder, what do you see yourself doing that would still be as like satisfying as that? Yeah.
Yeah. There's other artistic aspects, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I even just think talking. I just think talking and sort of being a pollinator.
Yeah.
Of this.
You're definitely skilled at that. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I feel like it's more of going around and asking questions of other people that may be having to need to have a sharing of their wool.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You know, I really appreciate the pollinating of that.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah. Well, again, I the irony is that I've been throwing, there's been plenty of people throwing stones. I mean, if you want to have entertainment, you could go on my Google reviews and watch my rebuttals, and you'd get a real good idea of my personality.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, I bet.
It has entertained my children in their high school, in their fun of that.
Nice.
But because again, if someone's going to complain, you better complain to me first and give me amends to be able to fix it before you go onto the World Wide Web and complain about something. And so that's how it's been for me to rebuke and stuff of that.
If you think about it,
I think the way people handle criticism says a lot. It's about, go ahead, Jane.
No, that's all right. I was just thinking that it's interesting because so much of the artist is maybe met through the hermit, and the hermit is the separation of society, and as far away from society as you get, there ends up being this wormhole entanglement where, in order for you to succeed as an artist, you have to satisfy those people, quote, quote. The very people that rejected you, the very people that rejected you, you find a symbiosis where you not only have to interact, you actually, if you really knew yourself, you'd find that you want to interact, that there's a deep desire that you have to interact with them. So the hermit is kind of on a tether. It's not really its own separate entity. A hermit would require a neural city so that it could purposely live just outside of. That's really what would make it the hermit,
Wow.
Is that not the octave you're talking about? I mean, reaching that.
Yeah, I think so, Brad. Yeah, sort of like you become your own city, you become your enclave. Yeah, that would be, it's kind of an octave of that, and you get to pick, what is the name of my city? What is my chief import? What is my chief export? all that stuff, you know?
Becoming an individual, right?
When you think about what
Individuation,
self-employment
like you say.
is, you know, like I worry all the time. What am I going to be able to do this tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
It's how do I get more patrons? How do I sell CDs? Like right now, I've extended my belief torque maybe too far because maybe I bought too many CDs, and how long is it going to take to recruit this? And because of that, it could be that's why I pick up the hatchet, because I've ran out of torque in other places, and now I'm starting to feel the pressure of that. And this is the artist in me saying, why aren't I better at tapping into society and pulling nutrients back into my hermit cave? Why am I not able to do that? And am I going to die because of this? And it's the symbiosis. There's the tether. That's part of the relationship, you know?
Sure. I hope you've gotten to the point where you realize art is just meant to be, and it's meant to be for, especially music for me. That's sort of got a book in me on that, and I haven't finished yet, but it's basically saying that, you know, we attract the music that we need to experience for the growth.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's sort of just like a painting or a book that has influenced you, or any of your previous work that, you know, you talked about your books with me the other day, and then I had to go down some more rabbit holes. And so now I get to see some of the videos that you've put out 7 years ago. And, you know, the whole concept of that is amazing. And so I guess is is how I try to do it with the same thing with the food is, even though my food is perishable, it's Spirit's creating it for me to make it at that time for whatever it is, you know, and the more I worry about it, the likelihood they won't be sold. The more I believe that it's there for the consumption of the universe, and that what I'm doing as purpose, it's going to be consumed.
I think in a lot of ways, I think in a lot of ways, being self-employed requires me to build a mast so I can hang a sail on it, and I think that mast is purely fear.
Sure.
Of not being able
every day.
being able to stay in this boat, of not being able to use this boat to get around to do what I want. And
I call every day's business Russian roulette.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It really is like that. And that kind of spirit is exactly what it should feel like if you really had your head out the window and you were in nature. If you were truly in the environment, you would want to taste your mortality every day. And you would maybe want to taste your mortality without so much toxic adrenaline, right? Because if we get near death, it ends up now we're offline for 3 days because we've adrenaline spiked and now we can't even taste food, right? Like we don't even know what salt tastes like because we've been so amped. So what you want is that 4% gaslight. You need a steady supply of nutrients that would give you the taste of mortality in a safer way that's more digestible, that's more productive for you. Yeah. And this is truly the art of being warm-blooded. I think the biggest hindrance that would stop me the most would have been if I would have had money, being younger, especially. I think it would have ruined me because I would have missed all the weightlifting that was required without it. The weightlifting in my creativity, not in the labor, but in the creativity, the struggle to, okay, you're not going to make it as a cartoonist. That was a big one. Fuck, really? No, you're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Fuck, really? The only reason why I knew it wasn't going to happen is because I was already in 3 cartoons. I was already in 3 newspapers. And guys, everyone would lie to me and say, well, see, you just gave up. No. I loved myself. I fucking loved myself.
Yep.
I was already in 3 papers. I was making $15 a week. If you love yourself, right? If you love yourself, you say, this isn't going to work. And someone out there who wants to be a cartoonist, they deserve it because they're willing to do it for $15. They're willing to do that. And this isn't just $15. This is, if I draw you a strip and one paper doesn't like it, I have to have another strip ready for them that's because they've got a loincloth. It's a Aztec health inspector. It's not nude. He's wearing a loincloth. There's no junk showing. It's an Aztec health inspector. Don't you get it? He's inspecting the chest. He's inspecting your heart because he's a health. Why is this not funny? And they're like, because he's nude. It's like, I can't do this. I'm not going to be, I don't want it that bad. And I want you to start thinking about what Lance Armstrong means, what the people that we fucking idolize are not doing what you think they are doing. They are not following their joy.
Yeah. No doubt.
You know, yeah.
Sanctity on level low.
Exactly,
And
Renee.
with that, everyone, we have about come to the end of this flight.
That's right.
Thank you all for joining us, everyone in the YouTube and on the crew. Thanks for coming to this Monday Night Ride, and like and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Renee. Thanks for co-piloting. Thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate the talk. I love this conversation.
Bye.
Let me know what you think of the
Bye,
format,
Kathy.
guys, all that stuff, and we'll see you next time.
You keep turning me on. I keep brushing you off. You keep putting me out. I keep taking you in. You keep pulling me in. I keep pushing you out. You keep taking me wrong. I keep losing it all. We can't seem to fit or quit. We don't seem to mind the mess. I keep begging for more. I keep losing it all. Listen. You keep turning me on. I keep brushing